They told you to hustle harder. They said chase it, force it, control it. But the more you chase, the more it slips away. The Stoics knew better. Relax not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. When you master your mind, the world follows. This isn't some fairy tale. This is ancient Stoic truth, and if you let it sink in, you won't just get what you want, you will become who you were born to be. So sit back, breathe, and get ready to unlock the quiet power that brings everything to you. 1. When life doesn't go as planned, and that becomes a blessing. Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny. For what could more aptly fit your needs? Marcus Aurelius, you had a vision. You saw it so clearly. The job, the person, the future, you worked for it. You sacrificed sleep, joy, even yourself to get there. But life slammed the door. Not gently, not politely. It ripped the plan out of your hands like a storm tearing down everything you built. You sat in silence, confused, angry, maybe even humiliated. You questioned your worth, your path, your purpose. Why is this happening to me? But that's the wrong question. The real question is, what is this clearing space for? Stoicism teaches us that the obstacle is the path. That when things fall apart, it's not punishment, it's precision. Life isn't against you. It's just rearranging itself for you, even when it doesn't feel like it. Think back to the worst rejection of your life. A job you didn't get, a person who left you, a dream that shattered. Months or years later, you realize it wasn't the end, it was the redirection. It was the invisible hand of the universe pulling you back from the edge of something that wasn't meant for you, to make room for something better. But here's the secret. That better thing didn't come when you were desperate. It didn't arrive when you were crying, panicking, or trying to control every detail. It showed up when you relaxed, when you accepted what is, when you let go of what was, and trusted what could be. That's where manifestation really happens. Not an obsession, not an overthinking, but in letting go with full faith. You stop chasing, and what you were chasing finally sees you. You stop begging, and the universe starts offering. The Stoics didn't just preach detachment because it sounded wise, they lived it. Epictetus was born a slave. His life was a mess of uncontrollable chaos. But instead of resisting, he relaxed into it. He stopped demanding that life be different, and because of that, he became free on the inside. That's real power. So when life doesn't go to plan, don't panic, don't collapse, don't cling. Pause, breathe, let go. Not because you're giving up, but because you're clearing space for what's already on its way. Most people never get what they want because they're too busy mourning what they thought they needed, not you. You've seen behind the curtain now. 2. When you're tired of being strong all the time, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Let's be real. You're exhausted, not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. The kind that builds up after years of holding it all together. Being the strong one, the responsible one, the one who never breaks, the one who keeps smiling when everything inside is screaming. You tell people, I'm fine, but you're not. You're drowning quietly in a world that only rewards loud success and hides silent struggle. You show up for everyone, family, friends, co-workers. You carry weight that nobody even sees. And sometimes, you wish someone would just say, you don't have to be strong today. But they don't, because they've come to expect your strength, your silence, your survival mode. So you keep going, day after day, thinking that relaxing means you'll fall apart. That if you let go, even for a second, the whole damn world might collapse. But here's what Stoicism teaches that nobody tells you. Strength isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. You don't need to force yourself through everything. You don't have to fight every battle. You're allowed to pause, to say no, to rest without guilt. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during plagues, wars, betrayals. But in his private journal, he constantly reminded himself, don't try to carry what isn't yours. Even the emperor needed moments to exhale. And so do you. Being strong doesn't mean you're emotionless. It doesn't mean you never get scared or tired or lost. It means you have the courage to face those feelings without letting them own you. But here's the twist. You don't gain that power by tightening your grip. You gain it by surrendering control, by relaxing into the moment, by trusting that even if you stop for a while, your worth doesn't disappear. In fact, the calm version of you is the most powerful version of you. The relaxed you can see clearly. The relaxed you doesn't react out of fear. The relaxed you makes better decisions, attracts better energy, and speaks with deeper authority. The world teaches hustle. Stoicism teaches presence, and presence wins, always. So if you're tired of being strong all the time, here's your permission. Put it down, not forever, just long enough to remember that your value isn't in your tension, it's in your truth. Let others chase, let others burn out. You'll manifest everything you need, not by force, but by faith. 3. When you feel like everyone is moving ahead but you're stuck, don't waste time worrying about what others are doing. You were made for your path, not theirs. Epictetus. You scroll through your feed. Everyone's winning. New jobs, vacations, marriages, perfect lives. You're still here. Same room, same routine, same silence. And deep down, it burns. You tell yourself, I'm not jealous. But you are, not because you hate them, but because you don't understand why it's not happening for you. You're trying, you're grinding, you're surviving things no one even knows about. And still, it feels like life forgot your address. But here's what no one says out loud. We all feel this way. Even the people you're comparing yourself to. Even the ones who seem ahead. Because life isn't a race. It's a rhythm. You're not behind. You're in a season. And seasons aren't meant to be rushed. They're meant to be respected. The Stoics didn't compare themselves to others. They compared themselves to who they were yesterday. That's the only competition that matters. You think you're stuck? Look closer. You're healing. You're maturing. You're learning how to stand still without losing your mind. That's not failure. That's growth. Maybe life isn't giving you what you want because you're not ready yet. Not emotionally, not spiritually, not mentally. And maybe the waiting is what's preparing you. The worst thing the universe can do is give you what you're not ready for. So it delays. It hides the breakthrough until you've built the patience to handle it. Not because it's cruel, but because it's strategic. When you see people moving ahead, remind yourself, you don't know what they're hiding. You don't know what they sacrificed. And you don't know what storm is waiting behind their smile. But you're building something real. Slow, silent, sacred, relax. You're not lost. You're being planted, and when it's time, you won't bloom late. You'll bloom right on time. Let others run. Let others shine now. Because when it's your turn, they won't see you coming. 4. When you've done everything right but still feel empty. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca, you followed the rules. You ticked the boxes. Study hard, get the degree, land the job, make the money, stay busy, achieve, and yet, something feels off. You lay in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, thinking, is this it? You've done everything they told you to do, and somehow you still feel incomplete, like something's missing. Like life slipped through your fingers while you were chasing stability. But here's what Stoicism teaches, what no school or job or system ever told you. External success means nothing if your inner world is empty. You can build an empire and still feel like a prisoner. You can reach every milestone and still feel miles away from peace. Because peace doesn't live in titles, trophies, or timelines. It lives in alignment. In doing what sets your soul on fire, in being honest with yourself, even if it breaks the mold. Stoic philosophers had wealth, fame, power, and they still turned inward. They still said, none of this matters, if I don't know who I am without it. Seneca had riches, but he also practiced losing them. He would sleep on the floor and eat plain food just to remind himself. Comfort is not the source of meaning. Let that hit. You don't feel empty because you failed. You feel empty because you've been feeding your ego, not your soul. And the soul doesn't care about applause. It doesn't care about numbers. It craves truth, silence, stillness, connection. You've been chasing things you thought would fix you, but now you're realizing the real fix isn't out there, it's in here. So stop running. Stop filling the silence with more noise. Sit with it. Face the void, not to fear it but to understand it. Because that emptiness, it's not a curse, it's a signal, a sacred whisper from your deeper self saying, it's time to go inward. That's where true manifestation begins, not in effort, but in essence, not in chasing what you think you need, but in connecting to who you really are. So if you feel empty, good, you're finally done pretending. You're finally ready to build a life that feels right, not just one that looks right. 5. When you're anxious about the future and nothing feels certain, he suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary. Seneca. You wake up and your heart is already racing, not because anything bad has happened, but because something might. Your brain starts spinning. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I never get what I want? What if I'm stuck like this forever? You try to shake it off, distract yourself, scroll, work, eat, talk. But underneath it all, that storm of uncertainty never really goes away. You're not living life, you're bracing for it. Here's the brutal truth. Most people don't fear the future because of what's coming. They fear the future because of what they can't control. And Stoicism, it was built exactly for that feeling. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And he was right, because 99% of the things you lose sleep over never even happen. You're tormenting yourself with maybe, crushing your peace with what if. But what if you didn't? What if you dropped the constant need to know what's next? What if you stopped treating uncertainty like an enemy and started treating it like your greatest training ground? Because that's what the Stoics did. They didn't pretend the future wasn't uncertain. They accepted it fully, and then built uncheckable peace within themselves. They said, I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I know who I'll be when it comes. That's the real flex, not predicting life, but preparing yourself to handle whatever it throws at you. You don't need more control. You need more confidence in your calm. And calm comes when you realize you've already survived everything you thought would break you. You've already made it through days you didn't think you could. And you didn't need to know the future to do it. You just needed to keep showing up. Manifestation doesn't require you to be psychic. It requires you to be present, to do what you can today, and let tomorrow unfold on its own terms. Control is an illusion, but composure, that's real power. So if the future feels heavy, breathe. You are not behind. You are not doomed. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where life needs you. To learn something, to release something, to grow into someone. And when you stop fighting the unknown, that's when the unknown starts working in your favor. So relax, not because life is easy, but because you're finally choosing not to live in fear of the parts you can't predict. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. 6. When you've lost someone or something you thought you couldn't live without, never forget, you are not in control of what you lose, only how you respond when you do. Marcus Aurelius. They were your everything, a person, a dream, a life you pictured in your head for years. And then, one day, it was gone. Just like that, now you walk around with that quiet ache. The one that doesn't show on your face, but never really leaves your chest. You look strong, you smile, you move forward, but no one sees the part of you that died quietly with what you lost. The Stoics understood this pain more than anyone, because they didn't run from loss. They practiced it. They meditated daily on impermanence, not to be negative, but to remind themselves, everything you love will eventually change, leave, or end. And in that painful truth, they found freedom. Because once you accept that nothing is promised, you stop clinging. You stop begging life to keep things the same. You stop attaching your worth to things that can vanish overnight. Love deeply, but don't own. Hold close, but be ready to release. Loss isn't a punishment. It's proof that you cared, that you lived, that you were brave enough to open your heart. And what the world took from you, it can never take who you became because of it. You don't need to forget. You don't need to pretend it didn't hurt. But you do need to stop building your identity around what's no longer here. You are not your pain. you are what rose out of it. So when you've lost something you thought you couldn't live without, here's the Stoic way forward. Grieve, let go, and return to yourself. Because you were never meant to find your peace in people or things. You were meant to find it in your own soul. Untouched, unbreakable, untied from the world. That's the highest form of power. That's the core of Stoicism. If this hit you deep, if you've ever felt lost, anxious, tired, or stuck, then this channel is your tribe. Subscribe to Stoic World right now, not just for motivation, but for mental armor. Like this video if it gave you peace. Share it with someone who's carrying silent battles, and comment below. I choose calm over chaos. Let the world know you're done chasing and ready to start manifesting from stillness. Because when you relax, you don't lose power, you unlock it.